it relates to us. But empathy is the practice of going out of your way, taking your time to actually understand someone else's motivations, feelings, and needs thoroughly before you create something for them. This practice of empathy is what is at the beginning of product design, or good product design, I should say. A good product really understands the problem it's solving. If you want it to be successful, you really need to do that. And the best way you can understand the problem you're solving is by listening and asking questions. A designer has to put themselves in their user's shoe in order to create something that can really help them. So, how can we take this idea of empathy, the way designers use it, and apply it to our everyday lives? Well, I want to talk about that today. It's easier said than done because we do all have our own ideas of what empathy means. We all have our own limits, our own context, so to speak, of what we think is acceptable. So we really do have a need to learn how to empathize with each other. We want to appreciate each other's originality, and we want to create better relationships without sacrificing our integrity. And empathy can allow you to do that. So to prepare for this series that I am starting, I actually read a book called Never Split the Difference, which is really a really great book. It is, I think I mentioned it in my last podcast, but it actually talks about negotiation, which actually starts with empathy. Now, the book explains how you use empathy in your communication to get what you need while also understanding someone else's perspective. It encourages you to actually invite the other person to exercise their creativity to come up with a solution that works for both of you. I also really like that this book focuses on challenging the problem and not the person. It's about solving the problem and not attacking the person. And I think that's a really good tool to have in your back pocket, that whenever conflict arises, whenever you're struggling, whenever you need to use empathy, it's not about the person as much as it is the problem. And in that way, we don't get stuck on trying to change people, which we really cannot do. We focus on coming up with collaborative solutions instead. So Chris Voss starts the book, and he talks about how it's universal that all human beings want to be desired and understood and accepted. We all want to be heard. However, I'm going to add a little bit to this and say that in order to offer compassion or empathy to others, I think you really do need to have compassion and empathy for yourself, which I guess since empathy is about others, we're going to just keep saying self-compassion. For me, I am a Christian, so empathy for me really does start with what theology calls the Imago Dei concept. So here's a quote from Christianity Today, and it defines what the Imago Dei is. So humans are created in the image of God, and this is to acknowledge the special qualities of human nature that allow God to be manifest in us. Having a conscious recognition that humans are made in God's image means that they are able to make God's plans and purposes known and actualized. And this way, humans are co-creators with God. The Imago Dei doctrine has moral implications because if humans love God, then they must also love each other, since we are all expressions of God. And honoring each other then becomes the best way to honor God. So I believe that each human is original, and that includes you, and that includes me. And when you accept the good and bad and ugly about yourself, you honor the fact that you're human. You're not perfect, but you still need compassion and care. God sees us in all of our mess ups